The Iowa Democratic Party has made it public. It has notified the Democratic National Committee that after all those problems getting the timely results in for the 2020 caucuses, it's willing to change the caucuses to try to keep them first in the nation in 2024. Remember, no guarantees here. Iowa has to apply like everybody else. So in this letter to the DNC, the state party chair notes that Iowa Democrats know they need to change and that what worked back in 1976 will not work for the future. Iowa law, of course, requires a caucus, not a primary, a caucus, but it doesn't dictate how those caucuses take place. And the chairman, Ross Wilburn, says the party plans to reform the caucuses. Party leaders say the recent plan to have Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina lead off the presidential selection process, it works and it brings diversity as a whole, and they're arguing it should continue.
The 4 early state process has worked, and so if we retain that process, each of the states bring a separate piece to the puzzle. And the piece that Iowa brings is the diversity. It's rural working class folks, it's the Midwest, and it's a place where we actually know what we're doing. Was 2020, the best we've ever done? No, but in fact, we had very good turnout. The caucuses went very well. The reporting piece fell apart. There's lots of blame to go around for that, but the bottom line is that the process itself
Does that blame rhyme with DNC? I mean, is it exclusively with that? Seriously, though, the app, the app was a mess, right? Were there any other problems besides the app?
I think if you go back and look at the report that the state party commissioned, there was definitely, there's blame to go around. We were not perfect.
Sure. Okay, so you all have said you're willing to make some changes, and you brought up during the news conference this past week, it's not solely your decision, it's not solely anybody's decision. The State Central Committee will have to work over the next month here. But going through a couple of the things that you've talked about, one of the most complicated parts of the caucuses would be this 15% viability threshold, right? Is that sacred? Does that have to stay?
I don't think it's sacred. But again, it's kind of up to the State Central Committee to decide what works.
Sure.
And it's if we're going to change the process significantly, then we need to take each step of it and say, okay, if we do this, what happens next? And really game it through. And it's game theory, and that's really what we have to do.
And it is done like this because it's always been done like this, right? Like, is there a fundamental reason that it would have to continue? Just that piece of it?
It has always been done like this. And you're right, and we're used to it. And frankly, from my perspective, having been the chair in the 08 cycle, it worked perfectly. But it is clear we need to meet the times, and so we need to come up with a better process.
Realignment. What about that?
It is
so that's
one
where
of the,
people can kind of move around. Their first choice doesn't work out; they can move to another one.
I love realignment. But I think that is one of the things that makes people nervous, because it is a difficult part of the process. It requires a second level of math, and as we all know, everyone hates math. And so why not take that math piece out and make it a little more simplistic?
Do those two pieces kind of work in tandem? So if you eliminated one, would it make sense to eliminate two, or you keep one, you keep both? Is it that simple?
Again, I haven't done the game theory. I'm not smart enough to do this on my own. But I think if you kept the 15%, then maybe you could just get rid of realignment. If you don't get to 15%, then you're set. Your totals are set right then. It just depends on what works and how the math would play out.
One of the things the party did this last cycle was allow people who were Iowa residents but living elsewhere, they could host their own caucus outside our state. It seemed for the most part that worked pretty well, other than maybe how it was all weighted when you're figuring out delegates, right? Maybe that would be the conversation.
Right. I think that piece of it was successful. It was that there is some concern that maybe it was inappropriately weighted. Again, you weren't really sure how many people were going to show up, and
Sure.
You had to create those outside precincts early and give them delegates. And so maybe there's a better way to do that.
One of the things Republicans will ask about is, the way they do theirs is kind of a secret ballot thing, so you don't have to stand up in front of your neighbors and say who you support. Is that another thing that's sacred and needs to stay?
That is something that we will look at hard. For whatever reason, the Iowa Republicans have been sort of grandfathered in by the prior New Hampshire Secretary of State. We've not really had dealings with the new New Hampshire Secretary of State, and maybe we can go to a process slightly more like that.
And what is that like? Bill Gardner was the Secretary of State there forever.
Since the beginning of time.
Beginning of time. He retired, but that is a wild card though, right? Because that you always saw that as a hindrance to making any major changes, and he would complain if your caucus was too closely resembling his primary, then he'd say no, essentially, right?
He would never complain. What he'd say is, I don't know if that really works with our New Hampshire law. And so it was,
was your hint.
It was sort of like when you're picking a new pope, you know, you had to sort of read the smoke.
Is there any way you would be willing to share First in the Nation? You and Nevada team up, whatever the combination would be.
New Hampshire's, you know, in their view, they are always going to be the first primary. And no one's going to share with New Hampshire that first primary, and we're not a primary. So I don't think anyone can really be first with us.
And since Nevada switched back to a primary this time around, there frankly aren't too many caucus states anyway.
There are very few left.
All right, so how does this go forward here? You've done these remote, these Zoom meetings with DNC members. You're going back to DC to talk more about this. What's going on behind the scenes? I think people probably want to know, for those who love the caucuses, they want some hope here that there's some way that this can be saved, right? Because there's probably more pessimism than any time I've lived here.
And you know, I think that the folks who have spoken at the RBC meetings would lead you to start from a pessimistic view. But the bottom line is that's just a small subset of the members of the committee. Most of the committee hasn't spoken. Most of the members of the committee, frankly, half the committee are new. And you know, it's part of our education process, which is what we're doing. You know, that's the letter of intent starts that piece. We have an application that'll be due June the 3rd. We're going to lay out more, you know, how we're meeting those touchstones that the RBC has asked for, you know, relating to competitiveness, feasibility, and diversity. And then we're going to present, it's what, June 22 through 24, sometime in that time frame, and do a full presentation. And then the committee will ultimately, you know, evaluate in July and August and make a decision.
Okay, you mentioned the competitiveness. So much has changed since you were chair through that 08 cycle, right? For your party. Democrats are not competitive in a lot of races. Now, still have some statewide offices, no doubt, with Mike Fitzgerald and Tom Miller, Rob Sand. The legislature, though, has gone hard red. Got a Republican governor and been for a while. Both senators are Republicans, 3 of the 4 members of Congress here. So, I mean, is it fair to say Iowa's competitive right now, do you think?
I think it is. I mean, you know, 2012, Barack Obama won Iowa. I mean, it's just not that long ago. You know, Chairman Kaufman on the Republican side said we're still a purple state. You know, I think you can look at that, and you know, I have great hope and am planning on having at least three Democratic members of Congress after the November elections. You know, Nancy Pelosi doesn't have that many places where she can pick up seats, but we have fair redistricting, and so we can pick up those two of those seats in eastern Iowa.
RBC, the Rules and Bylaw Committee, by the way, if you're wondering about that abbreviation. All right, so Scott's back for the Insider's Quick Six next, and which Democratic challenger he feels might have the best edge to upset a Republican incumbent.